Hello, Tajidalai. Welcome to Dharma Sharing. So we are trying to understand more about these 6 different trainings, which are known as 6 parameters in the practice of the action bodhicitta. To understand action bodhicitta, we need to implement these trainings in 6 parameters. And these are exactly what GAMPOPA encouraged us to practice these different types of parameters. And in order to practice these parameters, obviously we need to first understand. First we need to hear these instructions of these different parameters. Then we need to apply them, understand more in deeper meaning by contemplating its meaning. And then when it makes sense to you, when it becomes relevant to you, when you have no doubt whatsoever about these instructions, when you feel really determined and interested in this practice, then we apply this into our day-to-day life, dealing with our negative afflictions and emotions. And slowly we will be able to purify all these different causes of our suffering. Thereby we can eliminate suffering, and then we can transform ourselves into primordial wisdom, understanding of primordial wisdom. So why we do all these practices is to, our main aim is to benefit sentient beings. So we should not forget this whenever we practice. This should be our main aim. And we know the reason why we need to benefit sentient beings. So there's no doubt, So therefore, after having that kind of confirmation, we need to apply the remedies. And here, the 6 parameters are the remedies to heal our sufferings and the suffering of others. So among the 6 parameters, so far we have studied the first 2, Shila Paramita and Dana Paramita and Shila Paramita. And today we are going to talk about the 3rd type of paramita, which is known as the Chandi Parameter, or the paramita perfections of patience. So before we start, obviously we need to recite refuge prayers, followed by the generations of bodhicitta and supplications to your Guru. Sangye je danzo ge jo namla jangjo bardo dane gyapson je dage jinso ge be sonam ge dola benjer sangye dovare sho sangye je danzo ge jo namla jangjo bardo dane gyapson je dagi jinso ge be sonam ge dola benjer sangye dovare sho sangye je danzo ge jo namla jangjo bardo dane gyapson je dagi jinso ge be sonam ge dola benjer sangye dovare sho semjen tamje dewa dan dewe gyudan dembar gyurje donga da donga ge gyudan dawa gyurje donga mebe dewa damba dame dawa gyurje Yirin jadang yidan drawe dang yum je bola nebar gyurje semjen tamje dewa dan dewe gyudan dembar gyurje donga da donga ge gyudan dawa gyurje donga mebe dewa damba dame dawa gyurje yirin jadang yidan drawe dang yum je bola nebar gyurje semjen tamje dewa dan dewe gyudan dembar gyurje donga da donga ge gyudan dawa gyurje donga mebe dewa damba dame dawa gyurje yirin jadang yidan drawe dang yum je bola nebar gyurje balden zawe lama rinpoche dage je uro peme de jula gadin chebe gone je sonde kusun toge ngudu za do. Okay, with this pure motivation, generations of bodhicitta, we now spend some time to understand these different trainings, the trainings in engaged bodhicitta. So yes, there are 6 parameters that we need to train, and the first is the Dana Parameter, which is the practice of generosity. And to recap what we have studied, there are 3 different types of Dana Parameter. The first one is giving of the wealth, second is the giving of the protections or the fearlessness, and the third is the giving of the Dharma. So all this giving, you should give all this according to your capacity, with pure motivations to benefit sentient beings, without having any kind of considerations of your wealth, gaining wealth, honor, name, fame, and whatsoever. This all kind of self-centered attitude or ego-clinging should be eliminated in the practice of the bodhisattva vehicle, bodhisattva way of life. Because if there's a kind of ego clinging is involved, or if there's some kind of considerations for the self-benefit, then that is not pure genuine Dharma here. Then that is not pure giving. Then that is not, there is involvement of impure giving, which has the intentions of benefiting yourself, and which then becomes like a business, not Dharma but business. So if you cannot be free from this kind of self-centered attitude, then your Dharma will not benefit so many beings. Slowly it will become the cause of your arrogance, pride, so this is not good at all. So therefore we should always be mindful of this, and we should always take a good example. We should always look to the different bodhisattvas, should understand their life stories, and we should take them as an example. Then we also should follow the same path. That way we'll be able to benefit sentient beings. And don't worry about considerations of yourself, because there will naturally, there's the benefits naturally when you practice past paramita, dana paramita. Buddha said, obviously because of that good cause, you will experience good results in two levels, remember, in the conventional level as well as in the ultimate level. So there's the definite of experiencing the good qualities, but you should not have any kind of expectation. You should have pure motivation. Give with true heart, full of concern for others, with full of compassion. Then you have no any kind of obstacles in your path of practicing the Dharma. Then you will be always remain in the joyful state of mind. You have no worry. You have nothing to be worried about, because you don't have anything to cling. You have already determined, and you have already dedicated your body, speech and mind for the service of others, to benefit other sentient beings. So therefore you don't have anything to hold upon, and when you have nothing to hold upon, you have nothing to be worried about. There's no anxiety or disappointments whatsoever. You're free. You're just open as an open sky. Your mind is just an open, like a true radiating the benefiting lights for the benefit of sentient beings. So this is what it should be, how it should be when we practice the genuine Dharma. Then the second paramita, as we talk about, is the Shila Paramita, the moral ethic, keeping our moral ethic, or disciplining ourselves, trying to discipline our body, speech and mind, trying to be careful with our body, speech and mind, that whether we are involving in non-virtuous act or not, whether we are harming others or not. As long as if you are not harming others, then you're safe, you're secure. If you see your body and speech and mind are harming others, then that is already a creation of non-virtuous act, which will lead us to the suffering of samsara, that which we do not want, isn't it? So don't we don't want any suffering. We have enough suffering already, and we don't want to suffer again. And fortunately, because of attainment of this precious human body, and with support of our contributional cause, that is the spiritual masters and all the different causes and conditions, we are now become very fortunate that we are able to listen and contemplate and practice this Dharma, which will protect us from falling into the another type of suffering of samsara in the future lifetime. So therefore we are lucky now that we are able to link with these teachings, and thereby we'll be able to uphold these teachings, sustain these teachings into our habit, transforming our habit of body, speech and mind, from non-virtuous to virtuous act, from improper to proper way of life. And with this regard, we talk about encouraging ourselves to involve in virtuous act, 10 virtuous act, and encouraging ourselves not to or you can say discouraging ourselves from implementations of 10 non-virtuous act. And when we do so, we should understand there are 3 different types of the moral ethic practice as well. The first one is restraining your body, speech and mind from harming others, particularly restraining your mind, If you are able to control your mind, then definitely you'll be able to control your speech and bodily action, because mind controls your body and speech. So if you are able to mature your mind, purify your mind, then automatically you'll be able to present, display a good contact of speech and body. The second type of, in order to do so, there's a second type of moral practice that is to do with the accumulations of virtuous act, which will engage our body, speech and mind in the positiveness. How to mature our minds. Our minds, as for now, ordinary mind is like childish mind. We always retaliate when things happens. When something says someone says something bad to us, we spontaneously respond in the same manner. So it's like childish. So we should understand that having by retaliating or by taking revenge, this is not permanent solution. This will not resolve your problems. So therefore we need to mature our mind. We need to understand what is the benefit of practicing Dharma and what is the disadvantages of following into non-virtuous act. So this is second type of moral ethic, which is to mature our mind and to encourage us to accumulate virtuous actions. Likewise, the third type of moral ethic is to benefit sentient beings. Obviously, while we restrain our mind from harming others, while we mature our minds in the trainings of the Dharma, is all our big purpose is to benefit sentient beings. So when you are able, when you have all the capacity and abilities, then you should not hesitate benefiting sentient beings. So these are known as the three different types of moral ethic, the practice of Chandi Parameter. And obviously, Shantideva also in his teaching from the Bodhisattva Avatara life, he did talk about the good contact of body, pure contact of body, pure contact of speech, and pure contact of mind as well. And remember, different types of body gesture, polite gesture from bodily, and again it depends on different traditions, different culture. Different culture may have different ways of considering pure action or a good contact of body. It's not necessarily that the one culture's way of life being polite is not necessarily the same with others. So I want to share my experience here. We are taught, from our childhood, we are taught that we should be respectful to our elders and teachers. Yes, we do. And bodily also, we have to bow down when our teachers comes, and when you are listening the teachings of the Dharma, we should bow our head down and listen and carefully. But then when I was working in SMT school, we have these teacher trainings. The teachers from overseas, especially the teachers from Switzerland, they come to our school and spend a week or so, and then we have these teacher trainings. They share their ideas, modern style of educating children, and we share our moral values or the word of wisdom from the Asian culture. So one time I remember that they were talking about the eye contact. They said when teachers teaching, we should have eye contact with the teacher, and which for us is totally different. We are taught to bow down our head and listen to the teacher. If we look at our teacher's eye, face to face, is considered as not pure contact, not polite. So we cannot sometimes they say, how dare you can look at your elder's face or your teacher's face. So in here, the culture here is different than the culture in the West. So there's also culture gap we should understand. So we should act according to situation, according to different culture. Whatever culture is considered as positive or polite, we should act accordingly. If you are in different part of the world, you should act according to their culture. So here the message is not important of the bodily action, but considerations, or having a considerations of their belief, their culture, their way of life. So you need to match with those things. Therefore, you'll be able to practice good conduct. And why we practice good conduct is to maintain our peace of mind. It will support our meditation. Okay, so today we are going to talk about the third paramita, Chandi Parameter, or the perfections of patience, which is the hardest part of the practice. Patience, but it is not impossible. Everything becomes, easy when you get used to it. So what is patience then? So we should understand this patience in very, carefully. Why it is called patience, why it is encouraged to practice patience in Buddhist term. Worldly understanding of patience will be, forbearing, or not saying anything, or, just suppressing your anger. Obviously, as an ordinary being, when someone is called to you, we get angry, isn't it? We are still ordinary being. We don't have control over our mind yet. We are not in the state level of transforming our anger into compassion yet. So we do get angry, and that's normal. Normal in the sense of mundane, but we should transform that into compassion. That's our goal. But from the mundane point of view, from the generally speaking, we get angry, and the difference is whether you react or not. So generally, if some people who has discriminating knowledge, who are more respectful of others, so when they hear someone scolding them, they will not react in the same manner. They will wait, or they will suppress their anger, or they will just don't say anything. They will just remain, mind at ease, so to speak. So that's suppressing once, twice, third, and more and more. And one day, what happens is, your all anger that you have been suppressing, keeping inside, will blast out, and then that will be very dangerous. Very dangerous situation. That day will be very dangerous. So therefore, in Buddhist term, the patience is different, totally different. There is no suppression involved. Obviously, we get angry, but there is no hatred. There's no holding of something or suppressing something there. So since there's no holding or suppressing, then there's no chance to blast. There's no opportunity that it will blast out. So this is the difference. The practice of patience in Buddhist term. So how Buddhists practice patience is patience with intelligence, or patience with wisdom. So we'll understand more why it is called patience with wisdom. And usually, generally practicing patience without wisdom would be, suppressing your anger, holding there, but not expressing, but holding there, living inside our mind, once, twice, third, fourth, and slowly one day you will not be able to bear these all things. Then it will blast out. Then you will say enough is enough. Then you will fight back, and you remember all these histories, what he did to you, when he did to you, in what year, what did he say, in which year, what did he say to you, and all these things. Then you will remember, and then you retaliate all in one with a big blast. So this is not advice here. This kind of patience is not advice here. So Buddhist patience is practicing patience with understanding, with wisdom. So we'll understand why it is called practice with patience. Practicing patience with wisdom, with understanding. So with wisdom and with understanding, you'll be able to transform that anger, that sense of the resentment. So there's no holding of resentment whatsoever. So this is how you transform them, with wisdom. So we'll understand more how we do this, okay? So chapter 14, the perfections of patience. So what is patience? Patience is not being disturbed, or not disturbed your peace of mind by someone's act, by someone's expression, by someone's speech, harsh words, insulting words, whatsoever. Your peace of mind, your meditation is unmovable. You can remain at the peace, at the ease. You're not moved. You're not overwhelmed by external expressions. So you'll be able to maintain in the stable, still, peaceful state of mind. That is one understanding of patience, mind at ease, without holding resentment. And second, the understanding of patience is not retaliating. Usually we retaliate, we take revenge. If someone says something, we'll act in the same manner. We'll say something worse than that. So, but in the practice of the Dharma, not like that. No revenge, no retaliating. Not holding. And the third one, understanding of patience, is not holding resentment in our mind. So this is the meaning of patience. Summary, the same presentation again in this chapter as well. GAMPOPA uses the same presentation, the 7 different topics to present this subject. First, reflections on faults and virtues, reflecting on faults of not practicing patience or getting angry, and the reflecting on the virtues of practicing patience. What is the advantages and what are the disadvantages. What are the advantages of practicing patience and what are the disadvantages of getting angry. Second is the definition of patience, and third one is the classifications of patience. Fourth is the characteristic of each of those classifications. Fifth, how to increase our patience. Sixth, how to perfect our patience. How can we make our patience into perfected patience, paramita. And then finally, the result, the beneficial effects of practicing patience. So all these 7 different topics in the same similar manner. This 7 topic comprises the perfections of patience. The first one, reflections on the faults and virtues. Even though you may have the practice of generosity and moral ethics, these two, first and second paramita, even though you have this practice, of generosity and moral ethics, all 3 different types of generosity and all 3 different types of moral ethics. But if you do not have patience, if you are lacking patience, then what happens is this one kind of, a big enemy will come and destroys everything. It will defeat you. And what is that? That is called anger. A very powerful, anger will destroy everything. Anger will take away your peace of mind. Anger will take away all your virtues. All these years you have been practicing generosity and moral ethics, but if you are impatient, if you lose control of your mind, then you become someone else. You did not remain as peaceful as you used to be. You did not remain as compassionate as you used to be, because this so-called maras, known as anger, is very dangerous. That is why Shantideva said that there is no evil like anger, and there is no virtues like patience. So these two, anger and patience, we need to have this big battle here. Internal battle, not hurting physical whatsoever, but internal battle, internal fight between the patience and anger. And this fight is, will take in a very pleasant, in a very gentle way, in a very gentle manner, with sitting there and contemplating, the advantages of practicing patience and disadvantages of getting anger in a very peaceful manner. No noise, no quarreling, no shouting, no movements, no jumping, no hitting. Just mental, gentle, peaceful state of mind with the postures of 7 postures of Beruchana and contemplating. This is how you are fighting with your anger and patience, in the battle of, between the two. So, if you are impatient, if you do not know how to practice patience, then anger will take place. Anger will come and take away your peace of mind. Anger will destroy all the virtuous act of yours. So therefore it says here, if anger arises, anger will develop if you do not have the practice of patience. And when anger arises, then all the virtues that were previously accumulated through generosity, moral ethic, and so forth will be destroyed by that very anger, instant anger, a very powerful. It's like a atom bomb, In 1 second, everything has been destroyed. So therefore, it is very important to practice patience. Bodhisattva Basket says that which is called anger will destroy the root of virtues which has been accumulated of hundreds and thousands of kalpas. Engaging in the conduct of Bodhisattva says that whatever wholesome deeds, such as venerating the Buddhas and the generosity that have been immense or collected over 1,000 eons, will be destroyed in one moment of anger. So that powerful, anger is that much powerful. So therefore, we should really, defeat our anger. We should really eliminate our anger, and we should really need to develop wisdom how we can get hold of anger, how we can control our anger. Okay. So I think you're very worried now by hearing this, these messages from different sutras. But don't worry. Whenever you do good virtues, either it is to do with generosity or moral ethics practice, right after that, dedicate the whole virtues. Then later on, when anger comes, he has nothing to destroy, because you have shared every virtues for the well-being of others, and you did not hold anything. Remember, GAMPOPA was saying, the wealth that is kept in your house is not yours. The wealth that you have shared with others is yours. So therefore, when you share your wealth, your merits for the well-being of others by dedication, then when this anger, the great Mara, the great destroyer comes, he has nothing to destroy. You have nothing that you have kept hold of. So this is the good method. So every time, don't forget to dedicate. Once you dedicate, then you are safe. Then anger cannot do anything. It can just take your present peace of mind, but it cannot destroy all the previously accumulated good merits and wisdom. So this is the one way how you can handle this anger, or protect your virtuous act. Taking care of anger will come later on. Again, if you do not have patience, the hatred enters into your mind, and it's like a poisonous arrow piercing your heart. It comes to your mind, it will, it's like very powerful and poisonous, like arrow which is piercing your heart. That means taking away your peace of mind, disturbed, by anger you are disturbed, you're distracted, you have lots of different thoughts coming in, which are not favorable thoughts, obviously. With anger, you do not know, what you are saying sometimes. You are not you. You are overpowered by anger. And this anger can destroy, not only you, the whole situation, the whole company, the whole units. So, you will not experience joy, happiness, and peace because the pain in your mind by the anger. And you cannot even sleep well when you're angry, when you get angry, when you're, aversion, or when you have hatred. Then you have lots of thoughts coming in your mind that disturbs, that take away your peace of sleep even. Engaging in the conduct of Bodhisattva, again Shantideva says, my mind will not experience peace when you're angry. If it fosters painful thoughts of hatred, I shall find no joy or happiness. Unable to sleep, I shall feel unsettled. So these are the, disadvantages of getting anger or not practicing patience. And in brief, there is nobody who lives happily with anger. When anger takes place, everybody is disturbed. Peace of mind is taken away until you know how to handle anger. If you know how to handle anger, then that will be a different story. But otherwise, this anger will be so powerful that it will take away your happy, peaceful state of mind, even sleep. We can see it, very visible when for example, your friend who is very good looking, a nice, kind guy or girl, female. But when she gets angry, you can see the changes in their appearances. They look very ugly. They don't remain, as beauty and as handsome as they used to be. their eyes are red, their mouth are shivering, and their body is shivering, and you can see the darkness or redness in their face when they get angry, really angry. And then you can see all this unimaginable speeches, words coming from their mouth, and throwing things away, destroying things, breaking things down. So these are unpleasant situations that we can witness when someone's disturbed by anger, when someone do not know how to control their anger, when someone do not know how to practice patience over anger. Okay? So again, if you do not have patience, hatred and anger enters inside your body or inside your mind, and prawning face will manifest displeasure appearances and cause all your friends, relatives and servants to become tired and sad. Obviously, when someone's angry and they show display in their anger in a very fearful way, wrathful way, then that will disturb all your family members, all your friends, whoever is associating with you. They will terrified, they will worry, they will be saddened by your appearances, by your kind of arrogance and stupidity and whatnot, because of that anger, because of not knowing how to control that anger, because of not knowing how to practice patience over that anger. So these are the disadvantages or the fault, reflecting on the fault of getting anger. Even if you give them food and wealth, they would not come around you. So when someone who is always getting angry, who always shouts, who always complains, who always makes lots of complaint of a small thing, who always kind of lost their peace of mind, who always quarrels, shouts, fights. So even though that kind of person, even though he or she gives food to other, clothes to other, the other people will not be happy to accompany him, because they will know that sooner or later he will manifest into that wrathful form out of anger. So therefore they still keep distance from this kind of individual. It is said, by it friends and relatives disheartened, though drowned by my generosity, they will not trust me. Again, if you do not have patience, the maras will get you and create obstacles. So when you're impatient, when you're disturbed by anger, then obviously there are lots of negatives which will take place, negative action, negative speech and negative thoughts. So these are not pleasant. This is something we need to be abandoned. Bodhisattva Basket says the maras will get you and create obstacles for you if you have the mind of hatred. Again, if you do not have patience, one of these 6 parameters on the path of Bodhisattva is incomplete. So you will not achieve unsurpassable enlightenment. So in order to achieve enlightenment, we need to practice all six trainings of engaged bodhicitta. So if one of those is missing, then it is incomplete. So when the remedies are incomplete, then obviously you will not be able to heal yourself from the suffering of samsara. Then you will not be able to witness unsurpassable enlightenment. The Condensed Perfections of Wisdom Sutra says, one who has hatred and no patience, how can such a one achieve enlightenment? So practicing patience is one of the main path, because that can overcome our anger, that can remain our peaceful state of mind, that can help our meditation practice. On the other hand, if you have patience, so the reflecting on the virtues of practicing patience now, it is one of the supreme virtues among all the root virtues. As Shantideva said, there is no dharma like practicing patience. This is one of the supreme virtues among all the root virtues, because this is the hardest part of the dharma. As it said, there is no evil like hatred and no fortitude lack patience. Thus, I should strive in various ways to meditate on patience. So, in order to fight back with your anger, we need to practice patience. Okay. If you have patience, even in the conventional state, you will have all the happiness. That's the result of practicing patience. As it is said, but whoever assiduously overcomes the anger finds happiness now and hereafter. So whoever is able to, diligently overcome the anger, then he or she will have happiness now and hereafter, because then he or she is able to control over their anger. And when you have this ability to control your anger, then you can remain a peaceful state of mind, happy state of mind, and you can spend better time for practicing other generosities when your mind is at peace, when your mind is not disturbed by anger. If you have the practice of patience, you will achieve unsurpassable enlightenment. That is the ultimate label. The meaning of the Father and Son Sutra says, anger is not the path towards enlightenment. Therefore, if one always meditates on loving kindness, enlightenment will be produced. So these are some of the reflections on the virtues of practicing patience and reflections on the faults of not practicing patience. The second presentation is the definition. Okay, the definitions of patience is a feeling of ease, or not retaliating, remaining still, mind at ease. The Bodhisattva Bhumi says, a mind without confusion and with only a feeling of ease, accompanied by compassion. In brief, one should understand this as the definitions of Bodhisattva's patience. So remember, general patience and the patience that we are talking about is slightly different. Here, the patience is without confusion. It has intelligence or wisdom, and having the ease accompanied by compassion, and not reacting or retaliating when someone says something bad to you or someone hits you. You have the full awareness, and you also have the feeling of compassion. Oh, I should not retaliate. Oh, I feel sympathy for that individual who is showing this kind of wrathful appearances, because he or she is overpowered by anger. This kind of understanding, this kind of compassion. Instead of retaliating, instead of taking revenge, instead of counteract, this bodhisattva, can remain our mind at ease, not retaliating, not saying something, but at the same time developing compassion for that individual. Oh, how pity, or how sad this particular being is overpowered by anger. You can see the power of anger from his appearances, from his face, from his body gesture, and by having more compassion to that individual. Oh, poor guy, he has been overpowered by this anger. He has no power at all. He is not in the situation where he can see what is good and what is bad. He is in no situation where he can have discriminating knowledge. Therefore, he do not know what he is saying. He is completely, spontaneously overpowered by anger. So this kind of awareness, this kind of wisdom, and this kind of compassion at the same time, and while remaining at ease, not retaliating, not saying anything, not hitting back, but deep meditation of understanding the cause why he or she is angry, and having sympathy towards that individual even more. So this is wonderful. This is the real practicing of the patience. And when you do this, there is no suppressions of anger. There's no holding of something inside, pushing inside, And because of, since there is no anything that is suppressing or anything is holding behind or inside, then there will be no kind of blasting out in future. There's no hatred involved. Instead of having hatred, this bodhisattva is having compassion. This bodhisattva is having wisdom to the situation, to see the situation, to understand the situation from different perspective compared with ordinary people's perspective. And yes, mundane from the samsaric point of view, if someone scolds you, if someone hits you, if someone insults you, then if you cannot retaliate or take revenge or say something bad, then you are considered as weak, But here, that weakness itself is strength. That is not weakness at all. Not many people can have this kind of understanding, this kind of wisdom, this kind of compassion towards that individual who is shouting at you, who is almost beating at you, who is saying all this nonsense to you, all this unbearable speeches that he or she is using at you. To have patience at that moment in this kind of situations is the power. Actually, it's not weakness. It's your strength. It's your power. It's your wisdom. So actually you are gaining here. You're not losing, you're gaining. But from the samsaric point of view, it looks like you are losing because you can't retaliate, you can't say anything back, you can't take revenge. Because this is what samsaric says, right? You have to take revenge. Even when someone says something, you have to say back, fight back, all these things. Obviously, it looks good, but then it is not the final resolve. It will create another kind of violence later on. It will create another kinds of suffering later on. It keeps coming. It never stops there. Whereas from the bodhisattva point of view, bodhisattva way of life, if you're able to understand the situation and if you're able to develop sympathy and compassion towards that individual by knowing that that individual is overpowered by this anger and he or she do not have any kind of power, any kind of choices. He or she is like, overpowered by alcohol. They are completely drunk. They don't know what they're saying. It's all ruled by anger. So, at this situation, if you are able to, use your wisdom and generate compassion towards this individual, then that compassion, that patience is joyfulness. That patience do not have anything to hold. That patience do not have anything to suppress. That patience is genuine patience. And that patience does not have anything that will blast out in the future. Okay, so this is the definitions of practicing patience here. Now the next is the classifications of patience. The patience has three classifications. Number one, the patience of feeling ease towards someone harmful. That is, when someone hits you or shout at you, you do not say anything back. That is the one kind of patience. Practicing patience by not retaliating or not saying anything, feeling ease towards someone harmful. And then we'll talk more about this later on, how one can have feeling of ease towards someone harmful. Second is the patience of accepting suffering. When you do Dharma practice, we have sometimes difficulties, not always easy. You have to spend time, money, all this different that is involved with your body. For example, practicing wonder practice, doing 100,000 prostrations, it is not easy at all, right? There's lots of pain in the body. You need to manage your time. All this involvement are there. But by seeing its the beneficial effects, by seeing how can you benefit from it, how can you minimize your non-virtuous act, how can you, bring your mind into peace, mature your mind, bring your mind closer to the mind of the Buddha. Then you'll be able to have patience of this suffering with regard to Dharma practice. So you don't feel this as a hardship, you don't feel this as something is difficult. Once you know the beneficial effect of it, and once you develop faith and devotion and joyfulness in this practice. So this is second type of practice, practicing patience, a patience of accepting sufferings. And the third one is the patience in understanding the nature of the Dharma. Obviously, the true nature of the Dharma, impermanence nature of Dharma, or non-existent nature of Dharma, emptiness nature of Dharma, you have kind of acceptance to this. Obviously, when when you're born in this samsara, obviously you are not free from the suffering of birth, aging, sickness, and death. So accepting it, this is the nature of, once you're born in human realm, that's the nature. No one can run away from this. So this nature, this fact, accepting this fact is another patience of understanding the nature of Dharma. Likewise, understanding the nature of impermanence and non-existent nature. So these are the three different types of practicing patience. Okay, the first one, which is known as the patience of feeling ease towards someone harmful. The first one is practicing patience by investigating the nature of the one who creates harm. Okay, someone who is scolding at you. So at that time, you're remaining still and not saying anything bad, but in making investigation. Oh, why he is saying this? Oh yes, he is saying this because he is overpowered by anger now. He was not like this yesterday. He was very nice. We are having a cup of tea together. He was very nice. He was comfortable. He was using all these beautiful words. We are sharing beautiful conversation. But today, out of because of he is overpowered by this anger, he's expressing that anger through his body and speech. So therefore, I should not retaliate. I should remain still, and later on this will go away, and then we can talk about it later on when situation is favorable. Now, with that appearances, with that shouting nature, with that yelling and shouting and shaking and banning, that's not the favorable condition. That's not the best situation to talk about the issues. So I'll remain silent, I'll feel ease, and I'll talk about we'll sort this out later on. So this kind of feeling, you are investigating the nature of one who creates calm. Second one is to practice patience by investigating the nature of suffering. So having patience, accepting suffering. So why we are suffering? What are different types of suffering are there? You're investigating. When you feel sick, you investigate sickness. Where is this sickness? How did this sickness come? This started at the beginning. So this kind of meditation, while you're sick, you were able to meditate and look at where this pain is. Then, believe me, the pain will reduce itself. The level of pain, the value of pain will reduce itself when you try to focus where is this pain. Otherwise, if you, surrender this pain and you feel, oh yeah, I can't bear pain, this is too much, I can't bear, and if you surrender this, this pain, then you feel like there's more pain. Then your capacity to, forbear is lost, is decreasing. Therefore, you can't, stand out of pain. But whereas if you are trying to investigate the nature of suffering, where is this suffering? How is this suffering come? Where is it is lying now? When you're trying to meditate on the suffering, then definitely it will reduce its pain. That you can try. The third one is practicing patience by investigating the unmistakable nature of all phenomena. Unmistakable nature of phenomena, emptiness nature, impermanence nature, suffering nature. These are the quality of knowing the nature of phenomena. Okay, so this is one way of describing these three different types of patience. On the other hand, there's another way of describing it. The first two practice in the conventional state. The first one, which is not, retaliating when someone insult you or shout at you, feeling at ease. And the second one is, having patience in suffering nature. These are in the conventional state. And the third one, having patience, understanding the nature of Dharma, is according to the ultimate state. So when you're able to see everything as emptiness nature, that is the advanced level of practice. That is why it's known as ultimate state. Okay, so these are different ways of, definitions of these classifications. Now, classifications, characteristic of each of these three classifications of patience. The first classification, that is the patience of feeling ease towards someone harmful, and practice patience toward those who bring you and your relatives obstacles by beating, aberding, hating and abusing you and so forth. So we try to practice patience towards those individuals who really harms you, who really tortures you, who really hates you. So it's very difficult, isn't it? It's very, very difficult, but it's not impossible. It's always possible. Difficult, we can change. We can make it easy. As Chandi Deva said, there's nothing impossible once you get used to it. There's nothing hard when you get used to it, It will get easier, more familiar with the situation. So the first one is we need to have patience towards this kind of individual who really hates you, who really shouts at you, who really brings obstacles to you, your family members, your dear and near ones. So you need to have patience towards these individuals. And how? Okay. What does it mean to practice patience to this kind of individual? That is to not to be disturbed by their appearances. Second, not retaliating. Third, not holding resentment in the mind. These are called patience towards this individual. Okay, so it's easy to say, it's easy to talk about, but it's very hard, not easy to practice. But that doesn't mean that you cannot practice this. All the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in the past, they all went through the same path. They defeated anger. They perfected their patience. So we can. Same thing. Same instruction, same Dharma. All the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, all the great teachers, they follow the same Dharma, same pure instructions that is in front of us now. So GAMPOPA himself went through all these practices and he defeated anger. He perfected his patience. So we do the same thing. So we can. So according to Chandi Deva, you should investigate. Okay, how you, as it's mentioned earlier, that the first practice of patience is investigating the nature of the one who creates harm, who is harming you. So we need to investigate, without saying anything, without retaliating, but mentally, when someone shouts at you, in a state of meditation, you investigate the situation. You investigate it, why he or she is acting in such a rough way. So these are few topics there, how you can really investigate. The first one is that those who harm you have no freedom. So you think, oh, that guy who is harming me, he or she has no freedom. He or she is overpowered by anger. So he or she is not in the position to make, good decision. So therefore, you feel sympathy to them. Instead of hating, instead of beating back, instead of shouting back, we need to have this kind of wisdom, understanding the situation. So this is first type of investigating the one who is harming you, thinking that he or she has no freedom. They are overpowered by this powerful anger, which has destroyed their peace of mind, and now is trying to destroy my peace of mind. It's now trying to take away my peace of mind, which I will never let it happen because you are now trying to practice the first patience, which is with regard to practicing the meditation, getting investigations with meditation. So thinking that they have no freedom from defilements, and giving, instead of shouting back, having more compassion, just like a mother who has a great compassion towards their children, and even have greater compassion to those children who are sick, who are acting in a different way. So likewise, you see all sentient beings as your children, you as a mother, benefactor, all sentient beings as your children, and have equal compassion towards them, but need to have more compassion to those children who are overpowered by negative affliction and emotions, and especially in this case they are overpowered by anger. So this is one way of investigating the person who is harming you. So when you try to investigate within your mind, then there is no physical reaction from your side. So you just feeling peace and feeling ease at your mind towards that individual, not doing anything, not retaliating, not disturbed by that appearances, that words, not holding resentment in our mind. So this is all healthy, Then second is that that this harm is the fault of your own karma. Not only what usually we do is, when we get angry, when someone shouts at you, we always see the fault of other people. We never consider as you may be one of the reasons to create this problem. We never think. We always raise our finger towards others. But here it says, well, when you investigate, you also should think that this harm is fault of your own karma, because you may have done something bad to them, and as a consequences it is coming back to you now. That's why there's a saying, do your best and let karma take care of it. So from your side, do your best, and then karma will take care of it. But if you do not do your best, if you involve in non-virtuous act, or if you have shouted someone in the past, if you have insulted someone in the past, not necessarily previous life, but in this life also, last week, last month, last year, then as a consequences, it comes back. So maybe because of that, he is not happy. Maybe you did something bad. Maybe you said something bad to them. So because at that situation, maybe they are not in the position to shout you back, but now it's coming back. Now they have more power, and then they are showing their taking their revenge or retaliating the situations. So you also should think that you may be also one of the cause of this situation. You may have created karma and now experiencing the result. Third investigating point is that this is the fault of your body. If someone is hitting you, this is not only his fault, it is also fault of your body, because we came to this samsara because of involvement in non-virtuous act, because of the cause of suffering, defilements. And since we take birth in this samsara and we have these 5 skandhas with us, this is another reason why people can hit you. If you do not have body, how can they hit you? Isn't it? So because of having your body as a target site, object of target, therefore they are hitting you or shouting at you. So this is another reason also, not always pointing out, but also taking your responsibility as well. You are also contributor to that anger, that the situations of anger and unfavorable condition. So this is one point. And next point is that this is the fault of your mind as well, not only body but mind. Why? Because you cherish yourself so much, you protect your body so much, you thought this body is so precious, that you don't let anything happen to this body. Because of that kind of protectiveness, you can't bear someone hits you, even slight small thing. You keep yourself so important, you cling your ego so much that if when someone says slightly small harsh words to you, you can't bear. You really want to say something back, even in a more wrathful performance. So that's why this is another point to investigate. Oh, it is also my fault of my mind that I'm holding this body so precious. That is why I can't bear when someone says something bad to me or someone hits me. So that is another point that we need to be investigating. Then the fifth point is both have equal faults. Why? Because he said something and you react in the same way. So who is pure here? None. You both created mistake. So we both should share equally, the consequences. So we both have the equal faults. When someone says something bad to you and you say bad to him or her, then there's no difference between the two. How can you say you are right and he's wrong? How can you say you are pure and he is impure? You both have the equal faults. So this is one of the point that we need to investigate. Then the benefits. How you should think, investigate to the one who is harming you. You should think, oh, because of him being angry to me, I have an opportunity to practice my patience. And by practicing patience, I will be able to witness good result of it, benefits. So I should thank him. I should be, grateful to the one who is harming me. Because of him or her, I'm able to practice patience, and now I'm witnessing good result of it. So therefore, this is another point that you need to investigate, the benefits. The benefit, okay, here the benefit. And then the feeling gratitude later on. Yes, because of him, I'm able to practice patience, and because of that, I'm now experiencing good results. So I should be grateful to him. You should be grateful to the person who is harming you. Then the next point is that all the Buddhas are pleased. So when one is practicing patience, obviously all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas will be pleased. Your gurus, your companion, your friends will be pleased. Someone with a gentle contact of body, who have a gentle spoken habit, who have always thinks something good for others, who always pray for good well-being of others. This kind of individual is liked and praised and pleased by everybody, including Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Obviously, because they also practice the same path, and they instruct us, they give this same teaching to us. And when Buddha and Bodhisattvas see someone's really practicing what Buddha has shown, the Dharma, according to it, then they will be pleased that someone is now trying to get rid of suffering. Someone's now trying to get free themselves from the suffering of samsara. So obviously they will be happy. And that ninth point is that it brings great beneficial effects. Obviously, by practicing patience, you're not retaliating, you're not creating another source of unhappiness, another cause of anger and fights. So therefore it is benefiting. it's benefiting your peace of mind, as well as it's benefiting, not by just by feeling at ease, just by not doing anything, just by standing still. That's not already not harming others, even though they are shouting at you, even though they are hitting at you. But if you are not hitting them back, then you are not harming them. So these are the beneficial effects of that. Okay, these are the general briefly presentations. So we'll have each of these points in more detail. So we'll do that in the next session. Okay, so we should dedicate the good merits for the benefit of all sentient beings. So nam be tamje sigba ni tobne nge be danam pamje ne ge ga na che palap to bai se be chole do wan do warai.